Knees and toes.
Does shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Thursday, February 26, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil, episode 417. That's 417 for you smart people. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. We're everywhere but Netflix. I'm going to cancel my subscription, Phil. They just will not return my emails.
We need our listeners to do a petition.
Yeah. Listeners, write in Netflix, threaten to pull your subscription if they do not let us on their site. Yeah, follow through with it if you want. I don't really care either way. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com where you can find Phil's article breaking down what was in Vancouver versus Buffalo last weekend, and look for time breakdowns in the description of the show. Phil, this last week, we mentioned your article. I'm going to plug it again. buffalosportscollective.com. Go find it. Very in-depth. You can find the penalty report. You can find the goal report, the inside-outside shots, and then a little write-up of stuff that we might not have covered on the episode. We had a couple interviews come out. Actually, one's out right now. You'll find the next one on Friday. We had John Fraser on from the Saskatchewan Rush. We talked to him on Wednesday, and then Friday, so tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Thursday, Ashley Docking from the TSN TV and NLL Plus and pretty much everywhere, along with the sideline reporter for the Toronto Rock. That interview will be out on Friday. I wanted to space these out a little bit. We got a 4-episode week this week between actually every day but Tuesday, and then Tuesday had your article. It was a jam-packed week, and then Power Rankings and NLL Pick'em for Week 14 will also be out on Friday, along with a reel. We're just jam-packing Friday. Head into the weekend with a bunch of content from the BSC. On today's episode, it's jam-packed. There's so much to cover, so much to do. I assume this is going to be a longer episode, so just I still got to get my seatbelt, Phil. Buckle up. Bandits versus Rush preview. Bandits versus Rock preview. We got some BSC questions that were sent into us, and Week 4 overview. There are 10 games across the NLL. I believe there are 6 teams with double headers, and I believe there's games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty busy. We'll start this episode with the segment that we started a couple months ago, and then forgot about it, and then brought it back 2 episodes ago. Ask the BSC. This is where we put out a post 24 hours before we record our episode. Good thing I posted that early, because then we decided to record at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. But we did get some more submissions. If you have any questions or thoughts on the Bandits' upcoming games, you can leave them there and we'll have you on the show. We got 3 more questions on this one. First one, Phil. If Buffalo loses both games this weekend, Friday and Saturday, they lose to the Rush, they lose to the Rock, the Double R's beat the Double B's, who would you consider on this team as untouchable, that you just simply would not move off of this roster?
Yeah, I think it's not a decent mix. It's an okay mix of offense and defense, but they're, I don't know, moving forward, like with how veteran this team is, there really aren't too many staples that you're building your team with moving forward that, like you said, are absolutely untouchable. Obviously, you got the big 2 in Smith and Byrne for sure. You got your younger, recent first-round picks in Belter and Wires and D-Rob for your defense. Then, obviously, McKay should not go anywhere ever. Then you get into guys like Nanakoke, Weiss, who's been around, Priolo, who's been around. Outside of that, Dooley, I don't think's untouchable, but it does seem like he's growing, and he was a recent draft pick. I feel like if I'm Buffalo, I want to continue building around him. So I do like what he's brought recently. After that, untouchable, I think that's probably where you're. And then the goalies, I would assume, are untouchable as well. I don't think Not that anyone's going after youth goalies right now. As far as like Vince is a different story, but I don't think Evan C or Shognosh would be available, but I don't think anyone, no one's looking for them for a playoff push. So, yeah, I think that's kind of who you got.
I have 5 truly untouchable players, and then I have a handful of guys that I would not want to move, but if somebody's willing to like drastically overpay, I'm good with it. I think my 5 are Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, Ian McKay, Steve Perillo, and Wakikin Shaganash. Those are the 5 I'm not moving whatsoever. You can try to overpay, it ain't gonna work. Then you get into, the 3-headed monsters of Zach Belter, Cam Wares, Dylan Robinson. Those ones would take a drastic overpay for me to consider moving, but my phone rings, I'm picking it up, I'm listening to what people have to say, along with Nick Weiss and Tohokanana Coke are in that group as well. Beyond that, I'm pretty much open. I mean, the guys I'm likely going to ask if they would even move are guys like Mitch DeSnew. I mean, I think he's pretty much as good as gone to Toronto if Buffalo loses this double weekend. Sorry, that. I know you pushed so hard to get him, and then he got hurt, and the team kind of crumbled. But I think Mitch DeSnew is as good as gone to Toronto. I think Buffalo would try to recoup some picks that they traded for him. I think Matt Spanger is a depth piece that maybe somebody around the league might want to pick up. Then you get guys like Matt Vince, Kyle Buchanan, and Ryan Benesh and Paul Dawson, all 4 guys that I believe signed here for a reason. They weren't going to go anywhere else. But I think you would have to call them and say, hey, if the opportunity presents itself to send you to a playoff team, because you're not going to send them to Philly, you're not going to send them to Calgary, you're going to call them and see, hey, would you want to go take another run at another championship for Benny, a championship, to get off this team that's probably not going to make the playoffs? I think you would do that. And then, Whitty and Mike McConnell, I think are some of your best movable trade assets at this trade deadline that, McCannell has a deal that goes through next year. Whitty's going to be an RFA after this year. So their rights will remain with the team that has them. I think they probably, besides, Mitch DeSnew, has the most amount of value. So, I mean, tied down to the dock, there's not a ton of guys, but I think there's more guys that I would be willing to move off this team than guys that I would be like, what the heck are you doing? So I think that answers that one, which translates into the next question, which I know we've already talked about the bye week and what we're going to be talking about. And this is going to be a topic for next Friday's show, but we'll kind of give a brief preview before diving in even deeper. If Buffalo wins either one or both games this weekend, who would be your top 3 targets at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I know. I mean, Joey Rez, we've talked about forever.
Who? I don't believe we've mentioned him once on this episode. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Joe Rezateritz, if you've never heard of his name and if you've never heard us mention him, he would be number 1 by far. I know a lot of people have said, like, well, he's struggling a bit and everything like that. He's struggling on an offense that can't score, and he's still number 2 on that offense with 38 points. I think Buffalo would gladly take him and hope that he can get.
I'll take your very bad trade asset.
Right.
I'll give you a 5th.
Great way to say it.
I'll give you a 5th.
Obviously, we call him Buffalo Joe for a reason. He's from the area. I think that would be a big boost as well. I think his leadership as veteran, I know we talk about that arguably too much with Buffalo because they might have too many veterans at this point. But I think he'd be a huge addition to this team. He won't come cheap. A lot of teams are probably going to be looking for him around the league, so it's not going to be easy. But for me right now, especially what we've gone over pretty much every single episode with trying to inject some life into this offense, I think he still remains my top option.
Yeah, he's my top. My second would probably be Eric Fennell. He didn't play last Sunday. So, I mean, is that for lineup decisions, or is that like they're getting a lot of phone calls and they don't want to risk getting him injured and then he comes off the trade market? And then I think it comes down to how serious you want to get. Like, are you going to call Oshawa about Kyle Rubish? Are you going to call Halifax about Graham Hossick? Again, I think as we get deeper into this, and this weekend, like we mentioned on the last episode, is going to be a big tell on if their buyers, sellers are kind of just staying stagnant, which I do not think they should do whatsoever. You got to either go sell or buy, depending on how this weekend goes. But I think the most realistic option on the back end is a guy that's played here before, and Ethan O'Connor. And I if I'm remembering correctly, Buffalo wanted him back, but he chose Rochester over Buffalo. He's out in Halifax now. He's a UFA next year that they can't franchise tag, which I don't believe they would anyways. But I think he is the most realistic option out there of a guy that can come in, knows the system, can slide right in, help on special teams. He might not be the quickest. He's not the youngest anymore, but you know what you're going to get out of him. And then, I mean, besides just trade deadline acquisitions, Curtis Knight's still sitting out there. You still got Holden Catoni. And I know multiple people have mentioned to me or the podcast, they might not fit in the system. Well, what's fitting right now ain't working. So maybe bringing in another body just to see what it is would help. I mean, for the last 5 games, Phil, they've scored 9 goals. I mean, it can't hurt for the last 6 games, I should say, they scored 9 goals. It can't hurt to bring in anybody. I don't know what Holden Catoni and Curtis Knight's situations are. Catoni got cut from Vegas, and Curtis Knight never re-signed with Rochester, so I don't know if they're retired. I don't know if they're willing to even come. I don't know what their situation is, but I'm picking up the phone and calling them and going, hey, guys, you might want to come help us try to get to the playoffs and win a 4th straight, get a title, maybe. But yeah, I think as we get further in and see what happens this weekend, we'll be able to dive further into this. And on a Friday episode, we'll really dig in. We'll be like the movie Holes. I'll be Shia LaBeouf. You can be Zero. Actually, I want to be Zero. Although I just got a haircut, so maybe I can't be Zero.
You can wear a wig.
I can wear a wig. My brother might still have his from Halloween.
There you go.
I'll go find out. Last question. How many goals does this offense need to score to officially say they're back? Phil, I don't think there's a number. Like, I honestly don't. To me, it's what they look like in the next 60 to 120 minutes. And if you do the math, that's this weekend. They need to look like, if they score 9 and they look fantastic, that's fine. If they score 20 and they look like garbage, I got a problem. It's not the number to me.
I mean, I'll take 20.
I'll take 20, but whatever. But it's to me, it's not the number. It's the look of it. To me, if you got to win though, I think, and we're going to dive into this in a bit, Saskatchewan, I think you need to score 13 or 14 goals. Their offense is too good. I don't think you're going to be able to contain them. You're going to have to put up 13 to 14 goals. Toronto, I think 10 to 11 might get it done, but this offense hasn't seemed to be able to do that very often recently. So if you're looking at a number of what I think they need to score to win this weekend, that's it. If you're talking about a number to make me buy back into what they are, even if I gave a number like 14 on both games, I don't know if I can fully say that they're back in just based on what I've seen the last 6, 7, 8 games.
Yeah, I think the 2 teams they're playing this weekend help if they look good, because both have really good goaltending and defenses. I know Nick Rose isn't in there for Toronto, but Halachuk's...
He might be. He was questionable last week, so...
He might... What? Maybe this is the time to get him in, though. Like, if you get him off an injury, maybe that's kind of what you're hoping for.
We're going to dive into it again, but I'd much rather face Nick Rose than Troy Halachuk. Whoever it is, I don't want them pulled, because Buffalo can't play against backups. Like, it's not possible. They're terrible against them.
But yeah, I mean, you're going up against, at the very bare minimum, 2 really good defenses. So if they put up 14 in both games, look pretty good, I would feel much, much better. Do I think no matter what happens this weekend, do I think they need to make a move? Yes. Yeah. Because like you said, it hasn't been consistent enough the entire season. So even if they have 2 really good games against 2 good teams, that's not going to make me feel better moving forward for the rest of the season. It'll be, okay, can you take this, add a piece, and make it even better? Because even if they've looked good this weekend, you still need to be elite in order to win the championship. You can't just be good. And, I mean, again, you take this offense, Saskatchewan's going to be tough, but you go up against a Georgia who's holding teams to like 7 goals, 8 goals. Like, you need to have an elite offense in order to combat that and be able to win that kind of game. So 14 in each would make me feel much better. Double digits would be nice. Do I think they get to 10 or 11 in either game. I don't know. I think plus 11 though 11 seems to be their kryptonite right now. So if they can get over 11, I'd be happy in general to see them get in the 12 range in both games. 14 seems like a tall task for this offense right now. 12 sounds good to me. 11 would make me feel like they got lucky maybe, or it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't feel good with 11. And even like you said, the 9 they got against Vancouver, on one hand, you're like, okay, you just got 9 against one of the best defenses and goaltenders out there. But the way they did it didn't look good. There were 2 almost 20-minute goal droughts. That's, like you said, 2/3 of the game. You had one little goal explosion and then nothing the rest of the game. So even though they put up 9, it didn't look great for the whole game. So that's another thing I would say is the scoring droughts. If you can keep those, I know like you're going to get shut out for a little bit. That's just the nature of lacrosse. Then you go on runs, also the nature of lacrosse. But going 20 minutes without a goal 2 times in a game is way too much. So hopefully they can get a little bit more consistency on when they score as well.
Yeah, and I dove into these numbers a little bit more in the spreadsheets that everybody knows I have. This year,
About
in the
to
first...
see a mega one coming up.
Oh, yeah, that's just part of it, too. I deleted so many things out of that. This year, in the first half, they're averaging 6 goals a game, and they're giving up 5.9. So that's a +1 in the first half. The second half, their goals for drops to 4.9, and they're allowing 5.6. That's -7. Last year in comparison, and I know it's vastly different, but I just want to show you how big of a drop-off it was. Last year, they were averaging just a hair under 1 more goal a game than this year at 6.72, but they were allowing a full goal less at 4.95. That's a +32. That's insane. And then the second half, again, it was the same number, 6.72 goals for and a 5.78 goals against. So it's not just that they're struggling on offense. It's that the offense drops off by a full goal in the second half, and they're getting outscored by 7 goals in the whole second half. Last year, it was +17. This year, it's -7. So when I dove into that a little bit more, and then also I read John Gertler's article, and I'm not saying I got angry, but I started sweating and like nervously panting a little bit when I read his article of, he interviewed Steve Dietrich, and Steve Dietrich said he loved what he saw out of this team the last 2 weeks. I don't. Like, he said basically, like, I don't know if it's just posturing, but he pretty much said, like, what's in house has got to get it done. That's not good. Like,
No.
You lost by 2, and you said to Vancouver, and you said it looked good when they went on 2 goal droughts of almost 20 minutes. You beat Halifax by 1. It's not good enough. Like, maybe this is just posturing. Maybe it is because of the trade deadline. I wouldn't put it past Dietrich whatsoever. And the trust for me is still there for him going out, because I can't see a world where he doesn't add somebody to the offense. If he does, come the episode after the trade deadline, if he doesn't make a move to fix this offense, then we'll have to come down hard on Steve Dietrich because it's not good enough. But if I dug a little bit further, because everybody knows my quest for 10 wins has been full go for the last few episodes. And I put on X, I teased it a little bit, that I believe doing what I did, and Phil's mentioned there's a lot of numbers and graphs and stuff here, I figured out that 9-9 should get them in. So as you can see, it's not quest for 10, it's quest for 9 wins. I'm sorry, I'm like a weatherman right here. 4. They're at 4. Okay? Everything's reversed. Like, in my screen, the quest for 9 wins is backwards, but it won't be in post. 4 right now. I think they need to get 5 more. I really do. And here's why. I think Saskatchewan, Colorado, Vancouver, and Georgia are in the playoffs. I'm unless something catastrophic happens, they're in the playoffs. Halifax, Calgary, Philly, and Oshawa, I believe they're out. I do not see a path for them to get into the playoffs. That means there's 4 spots for 6 teams. What I did was I picked the rest of the schedule. Okay, I went through what everybody's facing, who they're facing, and I matched it up perfectly. So if I have Oshawa winning this game, I know they lost them versus this team. So I matched it up perfectly so nothing is out of whack here. But how I did it wasn't just personal opinion. I gave the top teams the wins. And in close matchups, I gave the edge to the better team. And then anytime that there was a matchup where, Philly and Calgary play each other back to back, I gave Philly one win and I gave Calgary one win. So this isn't just like what I think's going to happen. It's just based on, who I think is the better team and close matchups. I split the decision. So basically, I got Saskatchewan finishing 17-1. It's probably not going to happen, but they were the best team, so obviously I'm going to give them every win. Vancouver came in second, 15-3. Colorado and Georgia round that out at 13-5 each. Ottawa, 10-8. So those 5 teams, I think, are making the playoffs. The bottom four, Philly, 3-5, Calgary, 3-5, Oshawa, 4-14, Halifax, 5-13. So I minimized that to 5 teams. We got Rochester, Buffalo, Las Vegas, San Diego, and Toronto. 5 teams for 3 spots. And I went through this entire thing. I think 9-9 gets them in. And here's why. This is exactly what's going to happen. And I even gave Buffalo a loss to Vancouver again. And they lose both the games versus Saskatchewan, but they beat Toronto, Colorado, San Diego, Rochester, and Oshawa. Those 5 get them to 9-9. Now, how does that get them in? Because I also have Vegas going 9-9, and Buffalo has the head-to-head over them. I got Rochester going 9-9. Even if Buffalo wins, I think they got to win by 4 goals to get the edge over that. San Diego, they have a very tough stretch. Here's their final stretch here with 9 games to go, I believe. 8 games to go. They got Colorado, Vancouver, Saskatchewan, Buffalo, Toronto, Georgia, and then back-to-back versus Vegas. Every one of those teams with Buffalo is currently in a playoff spot. Toronto has Buffalo, Vancouver, Halifax, Saskatchewan, Philly, San Diego, Ottawa, and Saskatchewan. They have some tough games coming up too. I have them finishing 8-10. I have San Diego and Toronto both finishing 8-10. So is it possible to get in 9-9? I think 9-9 with some help, because you got to beat San Diego, you got to beat Toronto, because both of them, you have 1 game. If you lose to either of them, I don't think you're making it. Like, if you lose to Toronto this weekend, pack it in. It's done. Like, I don't think so. But that's me summarizing that I do not think 10 wins. I don't think you need 10 wins. I think 9-9 gets you in just because of how difficult some of these schedules coming up are. And you have the head-to-head over Vegas. You can have the head-to-head over San Diego and Toronto if you beat both those teams. You can get the head-to-head over Toronto if you beat them by, I think, more than 4 goals. So it's realistic. Rochester, thank you. I think 10 gets you in for sure. 100% 10 gets you in. But I think 9-9 is closer to 100% in than it was prior. 8-10, you're done. You have to win versus Toronto this weekend. This is basically me saying, if you lose to Toronto, you're done. But if you beat Toronto, you have a very good chance, as long as you beat every other team. So I think a roundabout way, I found a way where you can lose both games to Vancouver and Saskatchewan and still get them in. It's a happy day. Happy day. I found a way to get them in.
If you split one of those, even better.
Yeah, that's just bonus. That'll get you to the 10.
I feel like last episode I did some stats and some digging, and PK was like, you know what? I'm going to do some stats and some digging. Here you go.
I saw it and I was like, I got to beat Phil. I got to do it.
I have the spreadsheets.
But I didn't know how tough San Diego's schedule was. Like, to me, It seems even more difficult than Buffalo's right now. Like, there's no gimme in there.
I mean, we don't follow them very closely, so I don't know what's going on with this, but we still don't know if firefighter school for ORIG is ever going to be a thing. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something he can push till the summer. We don't know, but if there's a chance that at some point they lose their goaltender, that's going to hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, but in a roundabout way, I think I've said that like 4 or 5 times. I think 9-9. I think I have 3 teams finishing 9-9 and all 3 getting in, and 2 teams finishing 8-10. The benefit is Halifax continues to lose. You got Oshawa that continues to lose. Like, the teams that are at the bottom aren't really rising, and I do not see a way for them to get back into it. So it's not like you're going to be competing with a ton more teams. Right. Even if you try to sneak in at the 8th seed, you're really competing with 3 other teams. And San Diego's got a tough stretch. Toronto's got a tough stretch. If you beat both of those teams, you have the head-to-head. You have the edge over it in a very, very close race. And this isn't me even factoring in Ottawa, who also could struggle down the stretch. Their schedule looks a little bit easier, and that's why I got them finishing 10-8. But they're right above Buffalo there. The disadvantage is Buffalo can't get the head-to-head against them. That's another reason why I was like 10-8. Even if Buffalo gets a 10-8, they can't skip them, so they would have to finish a game better than them. So I really think it's going to come down, unless something catastrophic happens or some team goes on an absolute heater, I think it's going to come down to 5 teams for 3 spots, and I think it's going to be Buffalo, Vegas, Rochester, San Diego, and Toronto, as long as Buffalo beats Toronto this weekend. If they lose to Toronto, all this work that I did is for naught, and I'll just punch my screen and cry in a corner.
Yeah, I was going to say, it all starts with this weekend.
It all starts with this week, and what starts Friday night is Buffalo versus the Rush. And it is 2 teams that met in the finals last year. They faced each other 4 times last year. It's like the Toronto-Buffalo matchups for years ago. But both teams are heading in desperately different directions. I mean, Rush are just an absolute wagon. When I talked to John Frazier, he was basically saying, the only weakness they have is slow starts. That's it. And even the slow starts, they were down 3-0 to Philly after 1. They won 14-6. That tells you how good, and I know Philly's not very good. I know I keep trashing on Philly, but that's how good the Rush are. I mean, they're leading the league in goals. They're second in goals against. They're second on the power play. They're third on the penalty kill. I mean, they're first in shots allowed. This team is an absolute wagon. There's no spots that this team is weak in, and I think the best part about this is this whole offseason, Phil, they added 1 player in a first-round draft pick in Levi Virch, who hasn't even really played. He's played in 2 games. This team is pretty much just running it back last year, and it's just wiping the floor with everybody's tears. It's insane how good of a team this is. Like, if they do not reach the finals this year, it was an absolute failure for them based on where they are right now.
Could you imagine? I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but yeah, close your eyes. And Buffalo sneaks into the playoffs, 8th seed, and they face the Rush in round 1 in Saskatchewan. What a matchup that would be.
That would be where you're trying to question, this isn't real. Everything is it's scripted, and this is exactly what they wanted.
One
Buffalo
and
came
done,
back
Buffalo
from the
versus Saskatchewan. That would be insane. I mean, I
It
know
would be
Saskatchewan
lovely.
would be super hungry to win that game, but that'd be wild if what if they go 17-1 and Buffalo knocks them out in round 1?
I mean, I projected them to go 17-1, but the issue is I had Buffalo as the 7th seed, not the 8th seed.
You did.
Buffalo would be heading to Vancouver, where
Also not good.
no.
But no, yeah, the Rush are a wagon. I mean, like you said, they took everything they did last year and just they got better as a team. They didn't, like you said, they didn't add any pieces. They didn't need to. They got all the way to the finals. They took Buffalo to Game 3. I know Buffalo did incredible in Game 3 because they're really, really good in the finals in Game 3. But they didn't need to do anything this year to overhaul the team or add anything. They were that close. They were right there, and they took everything they did in what was a bit of a surprise season last year. Not completely out of the blue or anything, but I don't know how many teams or people expected
I don't think
them to
anybody
be.
thought they'd make it to the finals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were that ready, they just took that momentum, carried it into this season, repeated everything they did, and now they are right where they should be.
So without going over every single game, because there were 4 games last year, Buffalo went 3-1 against them. The only loss was Game 2 in the finals. Buffalo outscored them 46-34. Saskatchewan got 6 more shots than them at 203-197. They were better at the faceoff dot by 19. But here's the alarming thing here. Saskatchewan was 4 for 13 on the power play. I mean, that's about 13 power play chances seems like it's a good average. That's about a little bit more than 3 a game. Buffalo was 1 for 3. In 4 games, they were 1 for 3. And I'm not saying that this is a stat of me criticizing the refs whatsoever. I think this is more of a stat of Saskatchewan doesn't commit penalties, and Buffalo doesn't earn those power play opportunities, especially this year. But you're looking at the numbers. McKay, he had 7 goals against this team. Byrne went 8-16-24. Bucky, 7-5-12. Smith, he went 8-18-26. Vince, 83.3% save percentage. When you're looking at Saskatchewan, though, Mans had 16 points. Keenan had a very quiet 7 points. Shanks, 20 points. Church didn't play in the regular season game. Remember, Buffalo beat him by 2, and Church didn't play because of the birth of his child. 2, 11, and 13 in those 3 other games. And Chiliano, who was goalie tender of the year, 72.3% save percentage versus Buffalo. So, but Saskatchewan was still getting some numbers there. I mean, Mans was killing them multiple times. Boudreau had 2, 4, and 6 in the transition game. Haley had 7 in a death roll as well. But it seemed like Buffalo was able to get the best of Frank Chiliano in these 4 games. And I think if Buffalo's able to do that again in this matchup, I think they can at least make it more competitive than at this moment I feel like it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it so much that it all comes down to the offense. And the defense and Vince do need to play better. They need to play really, really, really good in order to win these styles of games. It's in theory, if you're going to win this game, it's probably going to be low-scoring defensive battle, 2 goaltenders playing out of their minds, and whoever happens to get a couple more goals will win, maybe in transition, maybe in power play situations. But yeah, if they can get the best of Chiliano, obviously that helps quite a bit because he's having another good season. But with what we've seen from the offense so far this year, that's going to be a bit of a tall task. And I think I did watch recently those games, the highlights of them, and going back and seeing them. I mean, a lot of it was Fraser, a lot of it was Cloutier. But outside of that, he just didn't look good. I mean, no offense to Chiliano, but he just looked like he had a bad series, especially in the championship finals. So I think every day Chiliano, or every game Chiliano, is going to be a little bit better. I don't know what was going on, but he looked like he was struggling to see the ball quite a bit. Like, there were some goals that seemed a bit easy to go in, and I don't think he's going to really repeat those mistakes. So it's not going to be easy, that is for sure.
So before we dive into the rest of this game, because we still have another preview to go over, let's go over our first and only sponsor of this episode, Tap That Tap Room.
Tap That Tap Room is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, offering a wide variety of seltzers, malt beverages, ciders, sours, and beers.
Friday, 5 to 7 is their weekly happy hour. Go there, find your new favorite along the beer wall while it's discounted. Then it's a double dip Bandits weekend starting Friday at 7:30 and then following up the next day, Saturday at 7 p.m. There's watch parties and is the best place to be if you can't go to the KeyBank Center or down in Hamilton. Phil and I will be at both games this weekend. We're traveling and it's going to be a fun time. But if you can't go with us and hang out with us at the games, Tap That Tap Room is the place to be. They're the number one place to be when you can't be at the game to watch it, because you know exactly, you hear me say it every single week. They're the place to be because you know when you're there, everybody else knows why you're there. It's to watch the Buffalo Bandits games. Everybody's decked out in orange and black. The games are on, the sound's on, and everybody's drinking and having a fun time cheering on the Buffalo Bandits. Then Tuesday, it's the St. Patrick's Day event. Look for our reel on Sunday to explain more. But to find out, if you want to find out more about that event, check out their Facebook page and a ton of other events they got coming up in March. Find out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com. Let's dive back into the Rush and their unbelievable forward group, because it really is scary. It's the same. They bring back pretty much the same group minus Mike Triolo. And, I mean, the lefties, it's Clark Walter has kind of come out of the lineup, and Levi Anderson has gone into it. He's played in 9 games. Clark Walter's played in the other 2. And even Walter, when he's in, he's put up 6 points in the 2 games. But Anderson is on the left-hand side. Ryan Keenan's having an MVP-type season at 66 points. Zach Mann's doing Zach Mann's type of things. And then with the righties, Robert Church, 58 points. The man is on a mission right now. I think he's up and over 95 or 950 career points. Brock Haley's in that depth role once again. Austin Shanks is there. Josh Sawada. This team that had nobody up and over 80 points has 4 guys projected for up and over 80 points this year, with Ryan Keenan up and over 100. But the one guy I really wanted to point out, because he's kind of like the guy that's in the shadows that can step up when needed, is Brock Haley. And this is what John Frazier had to say about Brock Haley.
Brock Haley is probably on any other team a 70-point guy right now. Like, it's just, and the fact that he's accepted that role, that he's doing the dirty things, he's getting to the middle, he's creating havoc. With that wicked shot he's got, he's a 70-point guy, right? Like, I really look at him and I see a really young Robert Church. Because that was Church. I mean, Church still does it, even as he's been in the league for a while. Church is still out there mucking and grinding. And if you watch the games, you're really seeing, Brock Haley go out and do those exact things. And to me, he's a really big part of this offense, even though, again, on the stat sheet, you're going to look and be like, hey, this guy should be scoring more. And if you put him on any other team in the league, he's probably at worst the number 2 option for their righties. And man, he's outstanding. It's going to lead to him being a complete all-round player. And like you said, another generation, another Derek Keenan. If I'm a GM in the NLL, and I've said this before, I ain't picking up the phone if Keenan's calling me.
So even if you're able to limit what Ryan Keenan and Zach Mans and Robert Church and Austin Shanks do, does this sound familiar, Phil? It's like the Buffalo Bandits, where if you're able to stop all these guys, then you have a Tehoka Nanako. For them, it's Brock Haley. I guess the other question is, I would assume Dylan Robinson's back because he was questionable last week, so they probably wanted to give him an extra week. Dooley probably goes back to the practice squad unless there's some injury we don't know about. To me, the question is, who's the odd man out between Thomas Whitty, Mike McCannell, and Zach Belter? I mean, I know my answer, but I think I know your answer, but what do you think the Bandits' answer is going to be?
Yeah, not something we're going to like.
No.
I think, again, I watched Belter very
so far
closely
this
last
year,
week.
we've been right, too.
Yes. Like I said, watched Belter very closely last game to see what he's doing, how he's doing, and he looked really good, especially outside or with Snu out there. Thought they played really, really well together, and I liked him as a lockdown defender. And I know this team's trying to get younger, trying to get faster. I get that they want speed out there, but he's not so slow that he's getting burned that often with people going right around him. Like, he still
when you
plays...
play Paul Dawson, you want to be faster. Don't use the excuse
Right.
that Zach Belter's slow. Like it's
Right.
it's like the Robert or the what is it, the tortoise and the hare. That would be a good comparison between the two.
And he still plays very good situational defense,
Yeah.
so he's very physical, and even if people try to get around him, he's good at boxing them out. And I forgot who it was. It was either Charlene Beatties or Charbonneau last game, and that could be completely wrong. Had a near breakaway, and Belter was the only one back there, and he was
It
with
was
him.
Charbonneau. Yeah.
And was able to keep up with him and then box him out. So he had a really bad angle shot and ended up pushing him right off the field, right out of the way. And even the announcer was like, heck of a play by Belter to get him to a bad angle. So Vince had a really easy save. Like, he still got the shot off, but it was a good job by him to keep up and push him to a bad angle spot. So I think he still does well. As far as the Rush offense goes, they're on pace to score just 10 more goals than they did last year. I know spread out over a season, that's about, half a goal a game, so it's not a ton, but it's more than nothing. But it seems like they should be on pace for a lot more. I think they've had a couple really close games that ended up being a little lower, but when they need to, they can put in a ton of goals at any point. And like you said, even last week, 3 goals after the first. Was it 3-3 at half even?
Yeah, I think it was 4-3 or something along those. It was very low scoring.
And then put up 14. So
yeah.
It's not something where, like, oh, we contained them in the first half. Yay, we're good. Like, we can keep this up. Like, they can put it on in any quarter at any time. So it's a really tough game for the defense to have to keep up with them the entire time. Yes, they have, like you said, they have 4 really big go-to players, but they also have the depth scoring that if they even need just a couple to push over, an 11-9 win, 11-10 win, they can get it from other sources as well.
Yeah, it was 4-4 at half. It comes down to, you got to be able to limit what Saskatchewan's able to do on offense, and that's also by limiting them to one chance at a time. Like, if you're able to scoop up that loose ball, if Matt Vince is able to corral the big rebounds, limit what they're able to do. It's kind of like what so many teams tried to do to Kansas City. Keep them off the field, and they can't hurt you. I think that's what Buffalo definitely has to do on the defensive end. And then, I know it kind of sounds like a Debbie Downer, and we've come so far down where we are now. I don't think Buffalo wins unless you see a performance from Matt Vince that we haven't seen since last playoffs. I think
I did like him against Halifax. I think he's still
yeah. So I mean, you need
again.
like playoff Matt Vince in this game to have a chance versus Saskatchewan. And again, I'm not saying Buffalo can't beat them. I'm just not expecting them to beat them based on the performances that we've seen the last few weeks. So if they want to win, Matt Vince has to be playoff Matt Vince in this one. They have to hold. I said it was unfair on Monday's show. They have to hold teams under 9 goals, and that's a tall task to ask from Matt Vince and this defense because your offense just is not doing it, and that'll transition into what we need from this offense. Like, to be able to win, I think the depth scoring from transition, from your second and third options on offense, they need to put in 6 or 7 goals. And then you need Josh and Dane to be Josh and Dane of years past, which is so much more difficult because everybody knows, let's D up Dane and Josh as best as we can because they're still all world players. If we D them up, let's make the secondary scorer beat us because they don't have a Kluch anymore. They don't have a Chase Frazier anymore. Yeah, Buchanan's good, but he's smaller. You keep him to the outside. Yeah, Nanako's good, but he's good for 1 or 2 goals a game. Yeah, Ian McKay's good, but he's not really putting the ball in the back of the net this year. If they're able to shut down Dane and Josh, it's so much more difficult for this offense. And a lot of teams have been able to do that. I think you need 6 or 7 goals from your depth and transition, and I think you need 5 or 6 from Dane and Josh to be able to win this game. And if you do the math, that's about 13 goals. And I don't know. I hate talking so badly about this team because you've just went on the run that they did, but we're talking about the here and the now in this season. Their offense hasn't been able to do it this season.
Yeah, it's gonna, like you said, it's to me it's gonna come down more to Dane and Byrne than it is to
100%.
the depth scoring because it's their team right now and they need to be playing out of their mind, and that's the only way this team's gonna win. Like, they just don't have the depth they need to keep up with teams anymore.
They don't have the consistent depth. Yeah.
Yes, it pops off here and there, but and even with the depth scoring, again, I still think you need one person out there to put up like a hat trick, and the rest of them get 1 goal here and there, plus Dane's 5 and 6 between Dane and Byrne. But even the 5 and 6 between those two, like last game, they put up 9 and Dane had 1 and then Byrne had 2. Like, that's not good enough. And I know they're trying. I'm not saying that they're playing bad or anything. Teams, like you said, know to key in on those two, so it makes it that much harder on them. But you need them to be playing all world across and putting this team on their back because they don't have the guys behind them like they used to rely on and to be consistent enough where if they have an off night, you can still put in 12, 13 goals. Like, that time currently is gone. They need to have on nights every time, or else this team, like you said, isn't going to get past 9 goals, and they haven't very often in the last few games.
Yeah, and this team needs to get inside. And when I was talking to John Frazier, hopefully everybody's listened to this episode already, that interview already on Wednesday, he pretty much said, like, yeah, players can get to the inside on this team. It's very difficult to do, but even when you do, you're paying the price. That sounds like a defense I wish Buffalo had this year. But, I mean, they have to get inside. They have to draw some power plays because last year in the 4 games, I've already mentioned it, 3 chances. That's not good enough. You have to give the refs a reason to make the call. You can't just stay on the outside and expect refs to make the call. Like, it's that simple. There's such a lower chance of you getting a penalty called for you when you're on the outside and you're not trying to get to the middle. You need to get to those dirty areas. Look at Vancouver. Where did the majority of those goals come from? They came from rebounds and being in front of the net and paying the price. That's where you need to go. You can't keep relying to shoot on the outside. You don't have a Chase Frazier that can pick the corners anymore. You don't have a Chris Kluche that can get Josh Byrne open, free hands to get the shot on net. You have to get to the middle. And this sounds like a broken record that I keep saying. It's because it's not happening. The second chances on this team have to happen. The reverse transition has to happen. I saw a little bit more of it versus Vancouver. I saw a little bit more of it against Halifax. So they're slowly getting back into it. But time's running out, guys. Like, Josh Byrne still doesn't have a cause turnover. You got Dane Smith with maybe 2 this season. You have to be able to get back, cause turnovers, and get the ball back on the other side. You saw it multiple times. Ian McKay got a loose ball one time, and you got it up to Buchanan, who was wide open in front of the net. There's just a handful of examples this year where last year I couldn't count on 1 hand or 2 hands how many times you were able to do that. And then the last one is Saskatchewan is known this season to have bad starts. I already mentioned it. This team needs to expose it. Get a 3 or 4 goal lead going into halftime and make Saskatchewan try to dig out of that. How many times have Buffalo played with a lead? Not a ton. You got to get the lead, keep it, and then pour it on in the second half with goals. Like, you can't have these goal droughts. Like, if they have another 15-plus minute goal drought, I'm going to go insane. But I think that pretty much sums up I think that's the transition that we're trying to do this year is talk about the opposing team with the interview and then focus more on the Buffalo Bandits in these preview shows because that's why a lot of people listen. So if you want to know more about Saskatchewan, listen to the interview. If you want to learn more about Toronto, listen to the interview with Ashley Ocken coming out on Friday. But Phil Chiliano, for some strange reason, he's having a better year this year than he did last year. Like his numbers are better this year than they were last year when he won goaltender of the year. You have to get to him early. Buffalo was able to expose him last year, so hopefully he didn't watch tape. Hopefully he was busy doing something else, and Buffalo's able to expose it again. But in game 1 of a 2-game series, what is your prediction for Saskatchewan versus Buffalo Friday night?
I am going to go with a loss. We already know that, but I'm going to go... I want to make it even worse, which is depressing. But yeah, we're going to go 11-8. Saskatchewan win.
You're much nicer than I am.
I don't trust this offense, but I do. I feel like for what we saw in Vancouver against a good offense, I didn't hate the defense. I didn't hate Matt Vince. They did okay. I think they can put it together again, depending on the personnel that's out there. I think they can continue to grow as a defensive unit. If Priolo doesn't have one of the worst games he's had in years, I think it's even better. So I trust the defense and goaltending a little bit, but the offense scares me a lot.
I'm gonna do something that you probably should have done. But who am I to question? You're on a 1-game heater of these perfect predictions. Right. I know I should shut up. I got them losing 13-9, and the reason 13-9 is because they only scored 9 goals. So that's why I kind of said you should have just stuck with 11-9 that worked for you last week. But yeah, I think they're going to struggle to contain Saskatchewan's offense just because of how deep they are. I think when I was talking to John, I was like, they don't have a guy that can put up 10, 11, 12 points a game like Buffalo does, but they have 4 or 5 guys that can put up 6, 7, 8 points where Buffalo doesn't have that. So I think their offense is going to just be overpowering and overmatching because, again, this isn't me trying to trash Buffalo. This is me talking up Saskatchewan and just how absolutely insane they are this year. Like, Saskatchewan is what Buffalo was last year. They were just ragdolling everybody, where Buffalo started the season, what is it?
Was it 7-0?
7-0? 7-0, and then they got to 9-1 at some point. So, yeah, the Saskatchewan is just doing what Buffalo did last year. That's all they're really doing. But Phil, let's transition because we got another game to preview here. Buffalo 4-6, Toronto 6-4. This is the game they need to have. Even if you lose to Saskatchewan, even if you beat Saskatchewan, you have to beat Toronto. Like you can't drop this game. This is the must-win game. Like, I know we were talking about Philly is as close to a must-win game as possible. Halifax was as much as a must-win game as possible. You can't lose to Toronto. You can't. Like, if you're going to lose a game, lose to Saskatchewan just based on who's close to you. You can't lose this head-to-head because it's too important. It's I don't know, Phil. Like, this game's going to be very nerve-wracking. It's the only game this year. You know what Toronto is like. They like to toe the line. They like to push it past the line. And since this is likely their only meeting this year, I would not be shocked if I see after whistle fireworks happen in this matchup.
I'll say what they don't like is each other.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, this game, again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but this is 2 really good defenses. Halashuk's playing really well in net. Not the time to be a struggling offense going into a must-win weekend. Like, this is going to be...
You can't score more than 9. Here's the rush and the rock for you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be an extremely difficult weekend. I don't know. I mean, it's going to come down... It's either going to come down to your offense putting up finally and having some good performances, or it's going to come down to your defense having to play ridiculously well, and Matt Vince having to hold teams to, like you said earlier, like 6 goals, 7 goals, 8 goals. Like, Toronto's a team that has struggled at times to put the ball in the net. So it could come down to a 9-8 victory at the last second. You get a late goal, you get a transition goal out of nowhere, and that could end up being the game winner in a really low-scoring game. I think if Toronto finds a way to put some goals past this defense and Matt Vince, I don't think you're going to be able to keep up. Like, I feel like in both of these games, you don't want to shoot out by any means because I don't think the offense can do it. I think you're going to want really low-scoring games that are horrifying to watch, but you sneak out a couple victories.
Yeah, and Toronto's offense looks pretty different than last year, and we're going to dive into that in a minute. But Buffalo faced them twice last year. They went 2-0. But as we know, Toronto struggled to win last year. I think they went 6-12. Buffalo had more goals by 3, 28-25. They desperately outshot them 114-81. They were dominating at the faceoff dot 37-23. Buffalo was 3 for 11 on the power play. Toronto was 5 for 12. Nanticoke only had 3 points. McKay went for 11 points. Byrne had 12. Smith had 18. Vince struggled in this one. 70% save percentage. But you're looking at Toronto. Dawick had 5 goals. You had Rogers who had 1, 9, and 10. You had Boucher with 11 points. You had Craig with 7 points. And yeah, I'm only listing a couple guys just because we're going to talk about the rookies in a minute. And Mark Matthews wasn't in either of those games. He was already hurt. But the key to this game, and I personally think Rose is going to play in this one because he was questionable last week. He's working his way back. They said he was close. I am terrified if they get up early on Rose and they put Troy Holochuk in. Like, I'm not even doing this as a joke. They struggle against backups, and Holochuk has been pretty good this year. And last year when they put him in twice in 13 minutes of action, 15 total minutes of action between games 1 and 2, he was 12 for 14. And I know that's a small sample size, but we've seen it with Drew Hutchison. We've seen it when Colorado came in and put in Nate Whittam. They couldn't beat him. Like, Buffalo struggles to put the ball in the back of the net when the starter goes out and the backup goes in. It's true. It's tough to do. And I can't understand it. I don't know if there's any data behind it. It just seems like for years and years and years, they struggle when the backup comes in after the starter is relieved.
Yeah, like I said, I would like to see Rose. I hope they see him the whole game. I could see, just because Toronto's a little bit weird, they already did it once this season where they had half a game of Rose for some reason. I could see them easing him back in this kind of game. I will
say, I did ask Ashley Docking that on when I interviewed her, so stay tuned on Friday. She answers that question a little bit more.
But maybe we see Rose being eased into the game, and whether that's start in the game, and like you said, maybe he struggles a little bit early on. They pull him because it's a big game. They must win, put Holochuk in, and then Holochuk's able to shut down Buffalo. So even, I don't know. We've seen it even, what was it? Yeah, Hill, the game where Halifax, he just did great, and then the backup comes in and shuts Buffalo down for some reason. So long history and track record of them not doing well against backups. So even though I think getting a Rose off of injury who hasn't played in a few weeks would be beneficial to Buffalo, that doesn't mean that he doesn't come out after letting a few goals in and then Buffalo's in trouble.
Yeah, so with the forward group here, they go strong lefty with either Dan Craig or Moran Weeks got his first game action last week. So I wonder if he steps in place of Dan Craig again. Owen Hiltz at 36 points, CJ Kirsch 41 points. The rookie dynamic duo right there is just filthy. I mean, Hiltz is shooting close to 26%. Kirsch is shooting just a tick under 24%. And then Mark Matthews is doing the mailman things with 37 assists on the season. And then with the righties, I mean, Jalen Rogers is playing full-time forward now. He's got 37 points. That's third on the team. And then Josh Dawick and Chris Boucher, while their numbers are on average to score less than they did last year, I mean, to me, what this defense needs to do, which I think is probably going to change unless they win against Saskatchewan. I think you're going to see a different defensive setup versus Toronto unless somehow they beat the Rush. I think they need to limit and this sounds crazy, they need to limit what the rookies are doing and force Josh Dawick and Chris Boucher to beat them. And I kind of asked Ashley Docking this. I was like, is it just more mouths to feed, or is it, is there something in their game that they're missing between Dawick and Boucher? And this is what she had to say. I know it's a lot longer of a clip, but I didn't know where to cut it. So here you go.
I think it's easy to kind of say that, but like just pulling it up now, it's like Josh has scored in 4 of the last 5 games. 2 of those games have been multiple goal games. Chris had a 5-goal game 3-4 games ago, 2-1 at the end of the last game. He didn't have any goals, but he had 3 assists against Colorado. And I think it's not a necessity for them to just like play over their heads anymore. Last year, you mentioned it, like Toronto was in such a tough spot. And I just remember talking to Challen at the end of the year, like, how do you kind of just, finish with a sense of pride end this on a high note where when you can, because really nothing went according to plan. And, they were some of the bright spots of the season that Toronto would like to forget and hopefully they've moved on from. So I don't think that anything necessarily in particular happened between them, that they fell off or that they lost that chemistry. It's just not a necessary evil that they score 7 points each a night to get to where they are, because they have so many weapons. And it's like once the rookies are found out a little bit by the defenses, and when they develop their counter moves and then the counter to the counter, maybe that's when Chris and Josh get a chance to pop off. And, when everyone's like, okay, enough, these guys are doing too much, you sneak it over to the rookies who are wily and always willing to pull trigger. And now they get a chance. And so I think it's actually quite a nice dynamic with Mark Matthews and sometimes Challen Rogers, like kind of facilitating that for everybody.
So it's a bit of a switch up from last year where they're deep now. They're not just relying on the righties to do stuff. Now they have the counterpunch of the rookies on the left and a healthy Mark Matthews with his new bionic shoulder. I feel better about limiting this offense than Saskatchewan's, but I still don't feel good about going against this team, because even last year, I mean, Toronto was able to pump in goals on this defense, and I thought the defense was better last year, and last year Toronto only had a so-so offense. This year, now that their vets are actually playing like veterans, how many times did we say, they think they're veterans, not just rookies? I'm interested to see how they match up. Do they actually favor and want to stop the veterans and force the rookies to step up and face Buffalo in this first time they've ever faced in this rivalry series? Or do they actually stop the rookies and force the vets to do something?
Yeah, I think for one, Mark Matthews is going to need to be looked at with that bionic arm. We're at the under protest their whole season.
Sorry, I know I cut you off. Do the refs actually remember, like years ago, after each quarter, you would, like the first TV timeout, the refs would have to measure the goalie's shoulder pads? They don't do that anymore. Like, when did that stop? Was that pre-COVID that they were still doing that? And they haven't done it since?
Yeah, even last year, I feel like I remember even players would have to go over and check their sticks and their heads.
Oh, really?
And, make sure they were all good. It used to be like players would go over, get it measured, and then goalies, they would just randomly pick, I think, different players. I don't know when that stopped. That's a great question, though. I don't remember seeing that anymore.
Sorry, it just triggered something when you said he's got to get checked out. Yeah.
But speaking of the rush, this offense reminds me a lot more of Saskatchewan last year, where it's very, very balanced across the board. They have multiple players. Like, no one's taking off individually, but they have a ton of guys who can put in the ball and pass the ball and do everything that they need to do. They have 6 guys at just about 30 points and up. And that's a lot of players on an offense to have at least 30 points. I know Boucher's at 29, but we'll round up for 1 point. Give him 30.
It's like the penny shortage, so you got to round it up.
Yeah. We'll round them up by 1 point. So I think it's gonna be tough to contain this kind of offense. But the thing that worries me with the rookies is that they're fast, they're quick, they can get inside,
and they're lefties.
And they're lefties.
So they're going against Paul Dawson and all the slower guys that are on the right-hand side for the or the left-hand side for the defense.
So that's what worries me about this offense right now is the rookies. And I don't know if you're going to be able to shut them down, but I think they're going to have a field day getting inside. We haven't really seen Buffalo been able to stop that in the last few games. So I'm worried about the younger players finding a way to get inside, right on top of Vince, having creased eyes and all that. And I could see Mark Matthews sitting back and just being that facilitator, like you said, finding them open, finding them on cuts, and using the rookie speed to take advantage of what Buffalo's defense is allowing. And you might be able to get a Dowick goal here and there, but even Rogers has been known to crash the crease quite a bit. Boucher can be physical and get inside. So this offense isn't too much of a deep threat, but it is a threat to get inside, and that's not where Buffalo is playing very well right now.
So I know Toronto's defense and their goaltending is putting up good numbers when it comes to goals against, but it doesn't seem like their defense is the same mean, tough, like keep it to the edge, don't you let you get inside, you'll pay the price type of defense that they were last year or the year before. Like, Mitch Desnew is no longer on this team. He's on Buffalo. And I know when we were talking to Ashley, she mentioned she wants to see the matchup between Desnew and Boucher because they're just going to go at each other nonstop and they don't like to let the other person get the edge over them. But, I mean, Yeah, Elijah Gash is back there. He's big, tough, and mean, but I don't think he's a true lacrosse defenseman yet. I mean, Latrell Harris still hasn't worked back up to what he was pre-injury. I mean, Phil Mazuka's having a career year, but Jubenville's back there. Kelleher, I really like him as a rookie, but Brad Kree's back there. You don't have Chris Wire. I mean, yes, this defense still has good pieces, but I don't think they're the same defense of years past that you have to be so afraid of. I mean, I think in the transition game is what what you have to be more worried about them between Sam English and Kelleher and Phil Mazuka can push the ball. Hudson's got 4 assists on this team. Darlison gets in every once in a while, and he's got speed for a young guy. So I do think that to me, this team is more dangerous in the transition game than on the back end. And maybe I'm going to eat my words. Maybe even with my score prediction, I'm probably going to eat my words. But I feel like this defense can get more exposed than they have in the past based on who they have back there. I'm not saying that their team's bad. I'm not saying that their back end's bad. The numbers back it up that they're not bad. I just don't think that there's the same pedigree that we have seen in prior years. I think this team can get exposed on the back end, and they're going to need to if Buffalo's going to win this game.
And the thing that worries me, Buffalo worries me a lot right now, but their offense has been shaky as far as passing goes.
Yeah.
And Toronto's caused turnovers are through the roof this year.
Brad Kree's 17.
Yeah, and they have over 100 as a team in 10 games, and Buffalo's looking at just over 70 in the same time span of 10 games. So that's about 30 more that they have, which is an insane number. I mean, an average of 3 more games, not crazy, but those, like you just mentioned, can turn into goals on the other end if they're picked off, immediately turn into offense, and could be a transition goal. And with the way Buffalo's passing the ball this year, they have moments where they look really good and they're zipping it around and it looks great and they find an open man. I think that's how Nanticoke was open in Vancouver. Didn't finish it, but he was wide open after some great passing, some great moves. Like, that was the offense I wanted to see more of. But we've also seen them have a ton of drop balls, a ton of passes that go all over the place, sometimes to absolutely nobody. So Toronto could take advantage of Buffalo not playing as well on offense as far as passing goes. And if they get, a few extra cause turnovers turned into a few more offensive possessions, could be what causes a close game to swing their way.
Yeah, and again, check for the injury report, check for Toronto activating guys on Thursday night. They're usually a day early on activating guys, but Nick Rose was questionable last week. I without knowing anything, I fully expect him back in this one, which to me is a good thing. But Phil, we kind of went over all the pieces. Again, if you want to know more about Rochester, listen for our interview on Friday with Ashley Docking. What is your score prediction for this game?
Must-win game for Buffalo. Like you said, no matter what happens against the Rush, but Buffalo's also going to be playing back-to-back, which is not great, especially coming off a game against the Rush, who are probably not going to play Buffalo very easily, so that's not going to be great.
They're not happy about some things that happened last year.
I don't think they are. And I'm going to go with a similar score, but in Buffalo's favor, 11-9 victory.
Did you say 9? Because
Yeah.
9
Yes.
just because, or because of what I said last time? Was that already your prediction going into
It
this?
felt good. It felt good.
That's fine. I also got a 9 in there. 9-8 win. I don't feel good about it based on the score. I don't feel good about Buffalo winning this game, but I'm just saying it because they need to win. I will also preference in the last 3 seasons, when I've been in the press box, no matter where, they're 1-7. I already want to send out apologies. If you're a betting person, bet against Buffalo. I'm in the box for both these games, so sorry in advance. Yeah, that's on me.
I do think I took over the Yips after Philly, though, so we'll see.
We'll see. I guess this is the first real test of it. So, yeah, Philly's going to be hard to overcome, though. Philly, God dang it! You lost to Philly. You'd be sitting 5-5. All right. Milestone minute. It's the fastest milestone minute in all the land. It's going to have to be this episode. All these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game. So if you miss one and you don't want to listen back for whatever reason, you can check for them there. Phil, there's 19. And there's 19 because it's a doubleheader. There's also 19 because 9 of them weren't accomplished last week. Instead of reading the averages per game, I'm going to exclude those because it'll take even longer. But if you want to know what the player's average is to figure out their possibility of accomplishing that, again, X and Blue Sky, I'm just going to read the possible milestones. I need to read each one in like under 3 seconds to be able to do this. And especially since we're up and over an hour already and we still got 8 games to go over. Here we go. Ryan Benesh is 1 assist away from passing Callum Crawford for 7th place in NL history. He is 3 points away from tying Colin Doyle for 4th place in NL history, and he's 3 points away from tying Mike Kersey for 5th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 6 assists away from passing Colin Doyle for 5th place in NL history. He is 9 points away from passing Callum Crawford for 8th place in NL history, and is 15 points away from 1,300 for his career. He'd be just the 8th player to reach that mark. Steve Perillo is 4 penalty minutes away from passing Jeff Schneider, 7th place in NL history. Kyle Buchanan is 6 goals away from tying Chris Cloutier for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He's 6 assists away from tying Troy Cordonley for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history, and he's 3 points away from tying Chase Frazier for 9th place. He's 7 away from tying Chris Cloutier for 8th. Nick Weiss is 4 penalty minutes away from tying Rich Kilroy for 7th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Mitch DeSnew is 20 loose balls away from tying Kevin Brownell for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Steve Perillo is 3 loose balls away from 1,500 for his career. Cam Wires is 1 loose ball away from 200 for his career. Josh Byrne is 2 loose balls away from 500 for his career. Kyle Buchanan is 4 assists away from 400 for his career. Connor Farrell is 32 faceoffs away from 1,000 for his career. Dane Smith is 2 cause turnovers away from tying Kevin Brownell for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history. And Josh Byrne, for the 11th time, is 1 cause turnover away from tying David Brock for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history.
Minute and 12 seconds.
That's not bad for 19.
No, you did. You did a real nice job.
Was I smart by cutting off the averages?
Absolutely.
That would have been 5 minutes.
Yeah, Dane Smith, 15 points away from 1,300. Very exciting. Very exciting.
That's the only one he took out of all those.
Well, it's a big one.
We'll move on to week 14. Phil, super rapid quick. We don't have the percentages of the people's picks yet because that's still currently going on as we're recording. If you're listening to this now, sorry, it already passed vote in week 15. Friday, 7 p.m., 7-3 Georgia, 2-8 Philly. We both took Georgia. As of the poll so far, every single person is taking Georgia. So unless somebody was being funny and took Philly, this should be our first 100% on a player or on team this week for people's picks.
Yeah, nothing really to talk about in this one. Georgia's really good. Brett Dobson's amazing, and Philly doesn't have an offense, so should be an easy win.
Keep Philly. This is, I guess we can tie this one in because they face them Saturday at 7:30 as well, but this time in Georgia. So there's really nothing to talk about this matchup. We both expect
Same
Georgia.
thing.
Yeah, same exact thing. Just keep Philly under 20 goals total, and I'll be happy. It doesn't matter if you put up 13 and then 6, just under 20 goals for me, please, because I got a 7-goal buffer for Philly moving forward.
Philly just put in 6 goals against the Rush. Do you think Georgia can beat that and get like 5 or less?
I don't think Kyle Jackson's playing because there's some PLL championship going on right now, and I think he's going to be missing both these games for that. I might be wrong. It might be next weekend, but I'm pretty sure it's this weekend. So that's somebody that put up like 14 points in the last 3 games. Yeah, I think they can beat that. I think so. I'm hoping. Get that as low as it can go. I want to be right. Friday, 9 p.m., 6-4 San Diego versus 8-3 Colorado. But Bandits fans, root for Colorado. Like, Colorado's got to win this one because I have San Diego pegged for a loss in this one. That's one of the way my math works.
Yeah, Colorado's coming off their first loss in, 8 games after a 7-game win streak? So
7. No, 8, maybe? I don't know. 7,
was it
maybe?
a 7-game win streak, then they lost one, so 8 games?
Yeah, it might have been.
Either way, Colorado's going to be coming out angry. They're playing at home in the Loud House. They need to beat San Diego for Buffalo, and I think they're just going to do it.
Yeah, this is a test of San Diego facing a team that's pretty good. So we'll see. 7-3 Vancouver, 4-5 Las Vegas, 10 p.m. Friday night. Another one, Buffalo Bandits fans, cheer for Vancouver. You need Vegas to lose this one because I have Vegas pegged for a loss.
I'm interested to see Vancouver and Vegas as far as Vegas's offense versus Vancouver's defense. And honestly, it'll be interesting to see them. I know they've been better all season than Buffalo, but I want to see how Vegas's offense can do against a really tough goaltender and defense and kind of compare that to what we just saw with Buffalo and Vancouver and just see where Vegas's offense is compared to Buffalo's.
Yeah, and Vegas just added Kevin Crowley from the free agent market, and Tyson Gibson is off the injured list. So they got 2 righties. I would assume that means Chase Frazier's out for an extended amount of time. Saturday, 7 p.m., 2-9 Oshawa, 6-5 Ottawa. I guess you're cheering for Oshawa, but Oshawa's Oshawa, and they ain't beating Ottawa. So it's that simple.
I thought they had a really easy schedule the rest of the way, and they were going to fight back and make playoffs.
Yeah, like 4 games ago.
Yeah, this is a game that, again, you want Oshawa to win, but Oshawa's, I don't know. They're a very strange team. They have enough talent on that team to win, but they can't seem to put it all together. And I think Ottawa can. So it should be a win for Ottawa, but maybe Oshawa can pull up an upset.
Their second game of the weekend, Saskatchewan 10-1, could be 11-1, could be 10-2. Facing 4-5 Rochester. Even if Saskatchewan beats Buffalo, Bandits fans, you're rooting for Saskatchewan hard in this one because Rochester's one of the ones that you desperately needs to lose.
Yeah, Rochester's been a bit of a shell of themselves recently. It'll be a
4-game losing streak.
Really tough one for them to come back in. I know Saskatchewan plays tough and plays twice, but at least they're staying in the market. I mean, playing Buffalo, then Rochester, so it's not like they're flying all over the place. So at least they won't really have to travel too much for the Rochester game after they get to Buffalo. I just think Saskatchewan's going to pull it off, even though they're playing back-to-back games.
Saturday, 9 p.m., 3-7 Halifax, 2-8 Calgary. You took Calgary, I took Halifax, and this game really doesn't have very many implications unless one of these teams gets super hot down the stretch.
I think Calgary is the team with Toronto. Toronto has their pick, right?
Yes.
So we need Calgary to keep winning, please. Don't give Toronto a great pick. And I like Calgary more than Halifax, so that's where we're at.
Sunday, 6 p.m., Sunday Fun Day, as Teddy and Pat usually say on OTCV. 7-3 Vancouver, 6-4 San Diego. Both these teams once again squaring off. Yeah, this completes both of these teams' doubleheaders of this weekend. You're cheering for Vancouver again. You need San Diego to lose this one because I have, once again, San Diego losing both games this weekend. They're going against a team that is tough. San Diego has struggled against teams that are above them in the standings. This is a true test of San Diego if they're legit or not this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's something we've talked about with San Diego for a while now. They've played a lot of easier games more recently. I know they played the Rush and they lost that one, but other than that, the wins they've had recently were against easier competition. This is going to be a really, really big weekend for them, not only to prove that they belong where they are, but it's also going to be a big weekend for them in the standings. If they drop both to harder teams, I think you have a lot of questions about how good that team is, and it puts them at 6-6. And if Buffalo even splits, it puts them a lot closer. And like you said, you really need San Diego to lose both of these games if Buffalo wants to get back in it.
So that wraps up this episode. Next episode, we'll go over both of these games, so buckle up. It's probably going to be another longer episode. The Sabres are back. They're playing Wednesday night. I think where is this schedule, Phil? Where is it? I'm trying to see how many games they play between now and when we talk again. They'll have 3 games.
Yep.
They got New Jersey, Florida, and Tampa Bay all on the road by the time we talk again. So hopefully 5 to 6 points. I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah. But yeah, we'll go over that as well. And then next week, Bandits are on a bye. So Friday show, we'll definitely be talking about the trade deadline. Good or bad? We're going to talk about it. And then Monday, we'll make something up as we go. But a well-earned bye week for both of us after the long stretch. But go back and listen to John Frazier's interview with us from Wednesday and stay tuned. Ashley Docking's interview will be out on Friday. Check out Phil's article on the website from the Vancouver loss. And, yeah, we'll be back on Monday. Good or bad. If they lose both, I apologize early. But yeah, I have all the numbers, guys. I really want to change that 4 to a 5 and a 6. So get some wins, guys. Get some wins. Remember, 9-9 should be good enough. We will close this one out by thanking everyone for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Will the outro play? It will. There we go. Thank you to Tap That Tapper for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. If you're heading up to Hamilton, drive safe. We'll see you there. Till next time. Bye.